Hello and welcome back to the Soul Sisters podcast with Eating Litter. And today we have a very exciting guest, which is Cara. So, Cara is a client of mine in the Align program. She is an incredible woman. She does a lot for endo. She's an endo warrior. She's been in Stormont and she's also a musician as well. But I don't want to steal Cara's thunder. So, Cara, thank you so much for coming on today. I genuinely love giving people the opportunity to share their story. I feel like everybody is sent here on this earth for a reason. And I feel we all have an incredible story, and this is your time to share your story. So, yeah, introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you about?
So I'm Cara, I'm 23 years old, and I'm a musician, so I'm a country music singer. I also teach singing as well, and I'm also a drama teacher, but I also am a sufferer of endometriosis. Well, not a sufferer, sorry, a survivor of endometriosis, because I'm living with it and battling it every day.
Beautiful, beautiful. And yes, this journey has not been easy for you at all. And we'll definitely get into that's really what the gist of this, what we say, podcast is going to be about for the listeners and viewers today. Really, how endo has really took up a big priority of your life and really all the amazing things in which you're doing for it now.
Amazing, yeah. It's an unpredictable journey to say the least. Like, it's not something I could wake up one morning and be like, this is how today's gonna go, because you just never know.
That's so true. And the unpredictable, like unpredictability, and then the uncertainty, and then the anxiety, which comes with that as well. So, how would you say that your life was before joining Align?
Before joining Align, like, I was living my best life, and I say that in quotation marks. Back then, I would have thought this is my best life. I was gigging every weekend. I was constantly meeting friends. I was constantly on the go. I was boxing. I was doing all this, but actually, that was masking everything else that was going so wrong. So I kind of refer to my life before now as like an iceberg. So you could only really see the top of an iceberg, but there was so much under the surface that I wasn't acknowledging. I wasn't acknowledging the pain I was going through every day. I wasn't acknowledging the thoughts that were going in my head. Like, mentally, I wasn't the strongest. I might have looked it on the forefront. Like, one of my friends actually said to me one day, "Oh my God, your life's pure class," and I was like, "No, it's just not." And it wasn't until she said that I was like, "Oh, actually, what I was running and doing all this stuff, I was running away from actually sitting and thinking about it." And I was definitely in weird cycles of like procrastination. I was in so many different PT programs, fitness programs, nutrition programs, and every time I'd hit this one plateau, and that would be me. Like, I wouldn't go back, or I'd make excuses, or, "Oh, I'll go tomorrow, I'll go tomorrow." Like, I never really had that accountability of, no, wind your neck and like go. Regardless, like, I forked out so much money for different things that I just never finished. And I think that fact that what I wanted to do wasn't in line with what my body wanted me to do at the time.
Yeah, that's such a powerful message, and I like hands up will say that I've been there too myself. It's on the surface, you can maybe be betraying a mask and betraying outside that everything is fine, but really deeply internally you're suffering. And then also it's the things in which you thought were going to give you the quote unquote like feeling wasn't actually what was serving your body, which is so interesting. So how was it that you felt within your body when you first joined?
When I first joined, like, I was not myself. And like, one prime thing which sort of kicked off why I got in contact with you in the first place was there was a photo I took of me before Christmas, and I do not recognize myself. I don't recognize mentally, like, I knew by looking at, well, I know nobody else would know, but I knew by looking at my face, like, that was the fakest smile I've ever put on. I just wasn't right. My clothes weren't sitting on me right. Like, I wasn't happy in my body. So that was a sort of, yeah.
So that was the point then when you realized, um, fuck, I'm stuck in my own shit. It's time to change.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I it was different things, like, even just in the boxing gym. Like, I'm a boxing coach, and I was struggling with things. I was telling the boys, "You should be able to do this in your sleep," and da da da. I couldn't even do. So I was being so hypocritical. I was like, "Well, you need to wise up and get your fitness up." But there was me, who one of them was like, "Go and demonstrate a burpee," and I was like, "No, I just can't do that." Like, and I was making excuses like, oh, I'm having wild bad pains today, or oh, my knee's sore because I'd had knee surgery a couple of years ago. So like they were easy excuses rather than just owning up to the fact and being like, actually, lads, I can't do this either, so let's do it together.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you know what? It takes a lot to actually come to that because it's radical responsibility.
100%. Like the boys, like if you walk into my boxing gym, the boys hate to see me because they know I'm so hard on them. But I was so hypocritical, and I think in general, like a couple of things I was doing at that time was beyond hypocritical. Like I was talking about my endo, or not really talking about it, but sometimes talking about it and saying, "Oh, you need to know your body and you need to listen, and this is your best way forward." But actually, I was running myself into the ground, and my endo was getting worse because I wasn't doing anything to help it. I was talking the talk, but I wasn't walking the walk.
Yeah, so you knew the information at the time, which is great. So you had the knowledge, but you weren't maybe embodying the person in which you knew you deserved to be.
100%. Like I definitely, like I was in and out of hospital all the time, and I wasn't truly understanding. Like I was being told by doctors, like, oh, like you need to change your lifestyle and you need a healthier lifestyle and this and that and the other. But I was taking offense to that. I was like, why do they think? Do they think I'm not? Do they think I'm not healthy? Like, do they think I look crap? But actually, that was more my own insecurities. Like they didn't say that. I used to be wild for trying to read someone's mind, so I'd be like, "Oh, this is what they're thinking," but I have no idea what's going on in their head. So, like that doctor was just simply telling me this is the best way that we can treat it for now until medications come about. But I was like, "Oh, this bitch is calling me fat." Like, do you know what I mean? Like that. That was definitely the mindset I was in at the time. I was very like a wee mouse in the corner, ready to pounce at any moment when somebody said something. But that was just how unhappy I was in myself.
Yeah, and you know, it's such a beautiful concept to come back to, and you know yourself. It's like it really does all come back to people are an external like we interpret things all different ways, and people are an external representation of how we really feel within ourselves, and sometimes that can feel a bit icky, I would say, you know, when you first realize that, because you're like, oh, that's. But I think it's also a beautiful realization that you can take radical responsibility and be like, actually, you know what, that's just how I felt to myself, and that's okay. But when you actually accept that, that's a beautiful part of the process of really becoming your higher self. And what would you say has really helped you flip from that mindset?
Definitely, obviously having somebody to hold me accountable
Mm.
and hold me like yourself being like, right, come on, like wise up. And they're different, putting a routine in place. Like I had no routine. I had just moved house in the August. I was in no routine. I'm living in a new place. Like I don't know anybody up here. So I definitely had to get myself out of that cycle of just lying in bed, going to work, coming home, going to bed, going to work, doing nothing. So definitely having someone accountable. I've started journaling, which I used to. I'm not gonna lie, I was one of these people that was like, journal's never gonna work for me. Like this is so stupid. But I'm a songwriter, so technically I've been journaling my whole life. I've just never actually sat down with that idea. So definitely journaling and like meal prepping, nutrition, and doing all that. And like when I do the shop, I'll start like batch cooking then,
Mm.
and then it's just going to the fridge and grabbing it when I've only got 5 minutes to eat something, rather than going to the cupboard and have a bag of crisps. Like going and grabbing like the oats that I've prepped, or even like a bagel or something that's already pre-made that I can just scoot in.
Isn't it beautiful that maybe 3 6 months ago you wouldn't have even thought to embody any of that, and now you're doing it?
Yeah, definitely. Like 3 6 months ago, like if I was running, I was very busy all the time. I was constantly on the road. Like I would have just, oh, I'll nip to McDonald's. Like sure, it'll be grand. Like I didn't even think of what all of that junk was doing to my body until I actually looked at it, and like knowing all those like fatty foods weren't helping my endo either. It's definitely mad, and even in that mindset of like when my boyfriend's like, oh, we'll go for a takeout, and I'm like, no, I'm not going for a takeout. Like I have food here, and then that willpower of the fact, well, he's going anyway, so it's like, no, I'm sticking to my guns here. Like I don't need to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like knowing what you value, and it's not to say that maybe you won't have the takeout here or there, but it's more like you're doing it now out of a place of like desire rather than convenience.
100%. And like I definitely feel like I won't. I think it's just in my mindset. Like I won't have one unless I feel like, not that I've earned it, but unless I feel like, okay, like I've done really really well, or I've done this, this, and this in order to allow me to have that. Like I'm fitting it into my plan now, rather than just being like, oh, we'll just go willy-nilly. Or if I know something's coming up, like where I have a work lunch and then a dinner, like I manage my stuff, like my portions and stuff like that there. So it's definitely the nutrition has definitely helped in a lot of things. It's helped my skin for a starter. Like, my skin is not as bad as it used to be. It's definitely helped my mood. I feel like before, because I changed my nutrition long before I started going to the gym, just nutrition and walking, and like I already felt a massive shift. So then when I added the gym, and it just obviously advanced that. But it has definitely changed a lot.
Absolutely, because it's the fuel in which we put into our body, and like that's the way I. It's not the way every coach works. Like I don't give clients everything all at once. I don't tell you to do all your steps. I don't get you into the gym straight away. I focus on the thing that is causing you the most problem, which was 9 times out of 10 is nutrition with people, and then we build up from there because there's actually a tolerance to um like change, and there's like a tolerance to actual happiness, like a ceiling on this, because when we change so many things, then that's why we go back into self-sabotaging techniques, because it feels so unsafe to the body, even though it's healthy. We're like, no, 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 this is too overwhelming. But you've had an incredible story, Cara, obviously you've shared with me, but like, what would you say for the listeners has been the hardest lesson that you've had to learn?
The hardest lesson that I had to learn was the trust that was broke to me in a system that should have helped me. And what I mean by that is, obviously I was diagnosed with endometriosis, or anybody that knows any sort of female reproductive issue, anything female wise in the NHS at the minute, like, it's no promise to the doctors or anything, they were amazing to me, but the years of like medical gaslighting and misdiagnosis, like, that was definitely the hardest thing. The toughest pill to swallow was, like, I knew what was going on in my body, and it's probably the only thing that I was fully in tune with, was like, no, there is something not right here, but not being listened to. Like, I actually have an intolerance to antibiotics right now, because they've given me so much. Like, they've given me them so many times now that it actually didn't work for me anymore, because that's what they just give me all the time.
Yeah. So it's like being unseen, unheard has made you feel like you weren't listened to, that your pain wasn't valid.
100%. Like, being told that I was overreacting by medical professionals in a hospital, being referred to a sexual health clinic at the age of 15.
Mm.
I was, this is not the case. Like, this is not what's wrong with me. But then, like, to be continuously told, I know it is. And then my mom actually fought my corner, thank God for her. But they come in, and they were like, you're only not telling us about this because your mummy's in the room. And I was like, no, this is not the case. And I think that aspect of nobody listened. I mean, I was very lucky in the sense that I have my mum, but apart from that, it was hard to hear from professionals that are supposed to help you. They're supposed to be there for you, but they just, and like, I've been brought up to trust the system, and to have that trust broken. I mean, I don't regain trust very easily, and to have that trust broken, like, it was very hard to take on board.
Absolutely. And, at the end of the day, trust is the foundations of all relationships, regardless of what that is. And for it being, like, don't get me wrong, like, medical care can be absolutely amazing in some areas, but they're seriously lacking within women's reproductive system. Like, it's only really okay. You can see people's reaction when you even talk about periods and stuff, that you're like, why is this so uncomfortable? Like, it's just like anything else. So I completely feel you there. And to be referred to the sexual health clinic at 15, like for an endo, like, how did that make you feel at 15?
I've never felt this demoralized in my life. Like,
Yeah.
I really did. I felt like pure. Not like, if you're referred to them clinics, like, that's fine. Being referred there unnecessarily. Like, I genuinely felt like scum. Like, I
Hmm.
was trying to explain to them, no, this is what happens. This is da 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 da. This pain happens all the time, but it's worse this time. You really need to help me. They just were like, no, like I was pushed aside, like, on priority lists for pain and stuff. Like, my pain would have been a 10. And how hard is that for us to admit, like, no, we're completely helpless, we need help. Like, I find it really hard to admit that I'm helpless, and the fact that I went there completely helpless, to be told, well, you're a girl, like, girls lie about things all the time, girls twist the story all the time. The fact that a male doctor told me that I was twisting my story because my mum was in the room, that's not the case. My mom was in the room, I would openly say it. Like, the relationship I have with my mum, I would say it in front of her, do you know what I mean? So the fact that the way he put it was just like, oh, you're a girl, like, girls twist the story all the time. That was one of the hardest things to hear, and I didn't really understand it properly until I got a wee bit older. Because obviously at 15, you don't understand what's going on in the world. But that was definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be so unseen and unheard at 15 and almost completely dismissed, which is, I'm so sorry to hear that you've had to go through that. And for maybe someone else who's relating, like listening to this today, and they're relating back to the story, and the maybe the exact same circumstance has happened to them, what advice would you give them?
I would sort of say like you're not alone. Um, you're stronger than you think, and you're more resilient than you know. Like from speaking in Stormont, and I was in the policy chat with the women's health group a couple of weeks ago, and hearing all them stories, they are so scarily similar,
Mm,
but there are so many years apart. So there's one lady who's 50, got diagnosed 20 years ago. I was diagnosed last year, but our stories were so similar. So like you're definitely not alone. Like again, I think this is like the mantra I live by at the minute. Like you're stronger than you think and more resilient than you know. Like you will get your answers, but unfortunately we just have to keep fighting. But it's definitely breaking that stigma of having that conversation. Like I don't know why periods are such a conversation. Like in my household, we talk about them all the time. Like I think it's because obviously I talk about them all the time, but like any other household, they'd be like, oh no, we can't talk about that. Like, oh no. Like in my friend groups as well, they're like, why are you talking about your period? Whereas me and my best friend would be like, well, how's your period this month? Like, it's so random, but I just don't know why it's taboo subject. So I really just tell people to keep fighting. Like, your pain's valid and your struggles are real and they deserve to be heard.
absolutely. They do deserve to be heard. That is the most important thing. And no matter how many times maybe the truth is thrown in your face or whatever it may be, it's um knowing that eventually that you will land within the right person. And was there something that helped you start to rebuild almost your confidence within yourself? Because it seems like, you've been pushed down and been unseen and unheard for so long with this pain. Was there anything in your life that helped you rebuild your confidence within yourself and know that your pain is valid and it's a really serious thing?
Definitely, like I obviously pushed to get seen by a consultant, and I was on a waiting list for 11 years, and I had my surgery in the February of 2024. I didn't really get my diagnosis then. Like I woke up to no consultant, a nurse, blah blah blah. They told me they found endo, but they didn't tell me anything else. And it wasn't until I went to the hospital in June, which is 4 months later, that I was told what I'd had. And it was at that moment I kind of realized, like, okay, this is valid. And I remember crying in a hallway and in a skill A&E, ball in my eyes. I had the most lovely A&E doctor. She wasn't even a gynecology doctor. She was an A&E doctor, and she sat down beside me and she talked me through the whole condition and learning that it was going to be chronic and it's something I had to live with. I mean, my mum has lived with her own adversities, and she's always been a survivor and a warrior. She's never fell victim, and I feel like whenever I was told like this is a chronic condition, and the chronic condition part really stuck in my head. Like I have to live with this for life. I don't have a choice. I can't wallow in self pity 2 weeks because my life would be gone. And I think at that stage I was like, no, I need to believe in myself here and know that I need to try and push through some of these. Now at that stage I unhealthily pushed through.
Mm.
Obviously now I've had to healthily push through, but I think at that stage when I finally was told I had endo, but I was also told I had adenomyosis, which is the sister. They're very, very close. So one grows outside your uterus, one goes inside your uterus. And I think even being told that, like that gave me a name for my pain, which meant then that I could sort of move on from that. It wasn't closure, but it was like, do you know what I mean? Like it's not closure, but they gave me the name. It really made it factual, so I was able to move on from it.
Yes, absolutely. Completely validated your feelings and give you words to describe what was going on. Because sometimes when we can't describe internally what is going on through words, we feel very much unheard. But when you got that diagnosis, you finally felt a little bit heard and you had words to articulate your message into what was going on.
100%. Like I know people that have suffered from endometriosis, and I know it was something that I had thought I'd had. Obviously, I can't say, oh, this is what I definitely have, and to even be told that and to know, I was like, oh my gosh. But then to know that everybody's journey is different in terms of how they take the pain, and I'm a wuss when it comes to pain. Like I hate pain. But the fact now that I had this this name, and I was able to be like, okay, when I go now, when I was in A&E last week, I was able to go and be like, this is what I have, this is what I need, please help me. And they were able to help me right away, rather than, I have a bad period, this is the case, and going in with on open-ended questions, whereas now I'm able to go in and be like, blah, 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 this is it, please help.
Yeah, amazing. And so, what tools really help you on a daily basis? Like maybe someone listening to this now and they're like, "Yeah, I've been constantly rejected by the medical care and constantly pushed away." So, what like holistic practices have really helped support you?
Definitely the breath work has 100% helped. I think it helped me connect more with myself, rather than, I know I always say like, oh, journaling helps me connect with myself, but the most connected I've ever felt was in breathwork sessions. Journaling and gratitude like definitely do help. Like no matter how small the win is, it's still a win regardless. Because there's gonna be months that you have massive wins, and there's gonna be months that you have no wins. But setbacks are a part of life, and I feel like you're not on the right path if you don't get a couple of setbacks. It's natural. So definitely like journaling and realizing that this is a minor setback, but it's not the end of the world. And definitely daily movement, be it stretching, be it walking, just movement in general. It helps me with my condition anyway. It doesn't need to be the gym. It doesn't need to be a big intense workout. Just like even walking to the shop and walking back. Like to me, that's a big win, especially on a day that I have a flare up. Like if I'm able to walk the length of myself and I have a flare up, that's a big thing. So yeah.
Yeah, it's all about doing things that really help you get out of your mind and back into your body, and more gentle movements, because endo is an inflammatory disease, and like the likes of breathworks helps really calm the nervous system and bring you back into your body. Because I don't know about you, but I constantly hold so much tension in my shoulders, my jaw, like everywhere, and then also you have this condition going on inside of you. So then like the gentle movements of walking, also your yoga, and yeah, like journaling, which helps you bring out of your mind and back into your body, because I don't think we actually realize how much of a stressful life we live, on top of how sometimes we can be already battling internal things. And what would you say has maybe been, like, you talked there about like a setback in which you've had, and that's so beautiful that you've said that, because I was actually talking to my friend here before I actually came onto this call, and I was going through a setback, and I was like pissed off. I was like, why did I do this? Blah 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 blah. And then I then came to the realization. I was like, but in 3 months' time, you're always going to look back at yourself and say, "Oh, I need to improve on this." I think that's the beauty. No, that is the beauty about looking after your mindset and really embodying that, because you can just, I don't know about you, but I used to live my life on like constant go 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 and never actually stopped to reflect on how far I've come and maybe what habits are no longer serving me. So it's beautiful when you actually stop and reflect. Hold on, what the fuck am I doing here? Is this aligning with me, and will I move forward with it? So that was beautiful what you said. So how would you say that you handle setbacks now compared to how you used to? Because I remember when we first started chatting that you said self-sabotage was major within your life. So yeah, what has been the key difference there?
I think obviously that mindset shift of learning that my body wasn't my enemy. I for years was like, no, my body hates me. And even when I got my period, I was like, oh, my body hates me. So definitely learning that, and learning obviously that setbacks are inevitable, and like there's times I felt like I was making loads of progress, and then I was knocked down a couple of steps by a flare up, or maybe the scales weren't going my way, or maybe I didn't get to the gym when I was supposed to, or there was one day I got there and I had a flare up that bad I had to come home. But it was learning, like the biggest lesson I learned is that rest isn't a weakness. That is the key thing. And I actually, when I was journaling earlier on, like this was a big thing to come up, because I had a rest week last week. Like rest is not a weakness, and just I need to know when to push myself, because knowing when to pause is the most crucial part.
That's so beautiful. And it's so true. And that's actually something, like, personally, I had to learn to myself, that I used to think that rest wasn't productive and blah, 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 blah. Don't get me wrong. There is times in which, you need to hold yourself to a higher standard. But when you're genuinely keep pushing, and I feel like as women and the people who come into the Align program and the women who I work with, rest is actually really hard for them. And it's like, if you're worried about resting, you probably need a rest. I say this all the time. It's like if you're worried that, oh no, I don't have time to rest, I'm like, yeah, that's a really big sign to me that you need to rest or it's something you struggle with. Like that's what we work on.
No, 100%. I used to hate rest. Like if I had a rest day, especially when I was in like old programs or old cycles, I would have been like, oh, a rest day is a bad day. Whereas now, like to me, like getting up and moving is my day. And if I need to sit down for half an hour, that's also okay. Like
Mm,
no knowing my limits
mm,
has been a massive. I never knew my limits. I think in everything I do in life, I push things to the very limit, and
mm,
my body is now, especially living with a chronic condition and surviving with one every day, is like knowing my limits and knowing, regardless of what society expects of me, this is what I expect of me, and knowing to put myself first before everything else. Like I never said the word no
mm.
before I joined. I was so bad at like if my friend was like, "Do you want to meet?" Like if one friend wanted to meet at 12 and one friend wanted to meet at 2, I'd say yes, even if I had to cut off one meeting short to make it to the other one. Whereas now I'm like, okay, no. Sometimes I can't deal with two things on Monday, so I'll do you this day and I'll do this another day,
Mhm.
and just knowing when not to pile too much on.
Isn't it? And that's so beautiful because I think that's the element of people pleasing. Like, oh, I can do everything, and you know, we are women, and we are fucking magical, and we are super women. But yes, we can do. Yes, we can do everything, but maybe not all in the one day, or maybe schedule it out. And then it comes back to your needs and how you're feeling within yourself. And I love that you came back with a reaction of like, yeah, maybe I'll just not meet them on the same day. I'll meet them on two separate days because I think then sometimes we can get so into our boundaries is that then we just cut everybody off. And then also that's not good for us as well because we're driven for connection.
100%. Like I know whenever I was younger, I when I was 18, I was in a really bad place. Both mentally and physically. I was running all the time. I was drinking all the time. I was driving, and I was doing things that I should not have been doing at that stage. And at that stage, I had pushed the people away that were there for me, and I had gained these people that were not there for me, and they sucked the absolute life out of me. Because whenever I like cut off all of those ties and I went back to my old friends, it was like, okay, this was just an in the moment thing. But actually, it made me feel 10 times worse than just living in the moment. And when I was 18, I didn't know the difference. I think I didn't really know the difference until like the last couple of months, which was what I needed and what I didn't need. And knowing, yes, like my friend that I've been friends with 3 years might have had a bad day and snapped at me, but knowing that that wasn't that, instead of when I was younger, if you'd have snapped at me, I'd have been like, right, go away then. Like I used to think I was amazing at cutting people off in terms of like if they didn't serve me, but actually I was cutting off the wrong people. I was cutting off the people that were there for me when the things went wrong, and keeping the people that were using me, that were sucking the life out of me, that were creating really bad habits at that time. And it definitely put me in a really bad place at that time. I'm out of it now, like, but back then I didn't see the difference.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you shared that. That's actually so beautiful. And I'm so glad that you shared that because sometimes we continue to choose a familiar hell because it feels familiar, not necessarily that it's right.
Yeah, 100%. Like I do that all the time, and I think like especially now I've learned it more that I'm a business owner, that like
Mm,
that choosing a familiar hair rather than something that feels uncomfortable. Like I definitely have pushed myself out of my comfort zone in so many different ways over the last couple of months. Like breathwork would have been something I would have never even thought to touch. Yoga would have been, I would have been like, what in God's gracious is going on here? Even just having that routine of going to the gym, meal prep, and I could never get an overnight oats right ever until like the last couple of months. So I think it was that pushing myself in comfortable ways out of my comfort zone, but again, not doing something that completely and utterly doesn't serve me at all. Like there is ways to push yourself out of your comfort zone that help, but there's also ways that hinder. And I
mm.
needed to make what I was doing wasn't gonna make me regress in the future, or after 3 months regress, and it was something I could keep sustainable throughout the whole process.
Absolutely. It's coming back to what is it that you need rather than everybody else externally. So, what would you say that? So, you really come back home to yourself, really, and really your authentic self. So, what would you say that success and happiness and fulfillment and a healthy body really means to you?
Well, I think a success for me and one big thing is not taking off those societal expectations.
Mm,
Expectations, but like that's not the case. And then obviously feeling at home in my body. It's about advocating for myself, advocating for others, breaking silence around endo, breaking silence around it's okay to be 23 and self-employed, or it's okay to be 23 and not have an absolute clue what you want to do. Like, it's completely okay. Like, happiness is found in the small things. To me, those small things, being able to move without pain, or feeling strong in the gym, or helping somebody else feel like they're not alone because of what I share. Like, I've started sharing my endo story now a lot more publicly than I would have before, and the messages I've got about people that are feeling a lot more, like, are able to talk about it because I've talked about it. And I've always said that if I can help one person in my story, then that's success for me. If it touches one life, success for me. I don't need to be up preaching to crowds and crowds of people. Like, if I can talk one-on-one to one person and I can help them see, okay, well, there is something wrong, then that's gold for me. Like,
Oh, no, that's beautiful. That's all that we need to do. You know, we change ourselves internally, how we feel, and then we give the inspiration to other people, which you're the embodiment of that, Cara. And I'm genuinely so proud of you, because watching you come along the journey is just so, so, so empowering, and really seeing you stepping into your authentic self. It's genuinely like my dream come true, and just in awe. Like, I feel like you're all my little babies, and I'm like, oh my God. It's so amazing, and it's so beautiful to watch blossom. And yeah, it's honestly incredible. And I think just given that empowerment of your own voice, your own story, and then sharing that with someone else so that they can do the same, it has so much impact on the world. And what would you say to someone who is maybe listening to this now and feels stuck in the old story, the old Cara, and looking, yeah, one piece of advice you would give them to the old Cara?
to the old Cara. Oh, I would definitely want to tell them that their pain is valid, and
Mm,
that their struggles are real, and that they deserve to be heard.
mm,
Healing, whether it's physical, mentally, or emotionally, isn't linear. I feel like that's something I never understood. I feel like healing was just black or white to me before, whereas it's not as simple as that, and that I need to heal physically, mentally, and emotionally before I can heal fully. And I wouldn't say I'm healed right now. Like, I would say I'm getting there, but I
yeah.
wouldn't say I'm fully. Some days are hard, but to know that that's also okay. Younger Cara would have took a hard day as like a defeat, or I would have absolutely kicked myself. But like, knowing that I'm not alone, and know, like, I would tell her, like, to keep fighting for answers and keep advocating for yourself, because there is a light at the end of that tunnel. Even if you can't see it in that moment, there is a light somewhere.
Absolutely. And I absolutely love that. I was listening to a podcast. Who was it? The Pocket Podcast. He's an Aussie fella called Chris. I don't know his second name. And he said something so beautiful about in life, like something happened to you, whether it be a life alternating event, whether it be the pain that you're in within endo, whatever it may be, just a life alternating event, and your back's against the wall sort of vibes. And unfortunately, you go into this tunnel and the doors close behind you. And you either can sit down in this tunnel and wallow in the darkness, or you can start to look ahead slightly. And even if there's only the little bit of light, you take a small step towards the light. So, so, so small. And every small step that you take towards the light, you will get out on the other side. And I feel like that was exactly you. That you had the
Yeah, 100.
choice to sit down and keep wallowing in the darkness, or take one small action.
100%. Like, I definitely wallowed from the June to the December. That was my wallowing period. I don't allow myself to wallow anymore. I might have like an hour of wallowing because everybody does, but then I'm like, sometimes I need to put in my own perspective. Like, things could be a lot worse, and I think that's, like, no matter what I'm going through, there is always going to be something that could be worse.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's times I don't see that in the moment, and I'm like, life is over, everything's gone, fuck this, everything's dead. But knowing that at the end, like, that light, like, especially like the way that's described, like taking one small step, one step to that light will eventually get bigger, and you'll eventually be out of that darkness. But like, even knowing, like, going through mental health journeys and different things, like, it's so hard to take that first step. But once you take that first step, it's like a snowball effect. Like, you're able to take the next one so much easier till eventually, like, you're sprinting out of that tunnel, you're not walking slowly anymore. So I think the first step's always the hardest, admitting that something is wrong, or admitting that you need help, and then after that it's just a snowball effect.
Absolutely, because I think when you no, I know when you admit to someone else, it's not necessarily there's someone like whether it be you reach out to a coach, a therapist, a health practitioner, um, it's that you finally come to terms with it yourself. Because I actually said this to my therapist the other day. Um, it was a situation in which I needed to tell my family about, and I said to her that yeah, I finally told them, and she was like, I was like, but that wasn't me. That wasn't about me telling them. That was about me owning up to something myself. And it was like such a beautiful paradox when you can say to someone that this is what you're struggling with. That's when you move into acceptance, and when you move into acceptance, that's where the snowball effect happens.
100%. Like I could tell people all day long what was going wrong with me, but to actually admit it to myself was a hard game in itself. Like it was another fight on top of that. Like I'd tell my mum, "Oh, this is what's happening." I was able to reach out to you, but it was actually admitting, "No, Cara, like you need to do this," or tell my boyfriend, like, "No, Cara, you need to do this." Like telling other people just validates your feelings more. Like you need to admit it yourself rather than have somebody else tell you. Because a lot of the time I would like start that conversation with my mum, and then she would tell me, "All right, well then this is what's happening," and I'd be like, "You bitch, why'd you just say that to me?" But actually, I hadn't admitted it myself. So when I was telling her these things, and she was like, "Okay, I believe you," I'm like, "Excuse me, what do you think you're talking about?" Even though I started the conversation, but it was just how I felt to myself, and admitting to myself that there was something wrong was definitely my turning point.
It's all about the relationship with yourself. And I absolutely love that. And now that you have really done a lot of work both on your mind, your body, and even like I say soul, but soul means anything to anybody. You know, what I really mean by soul is just coming back to your true essence, your true core, and living life really on your terms. That's what I mean by that. And what now that you've went on this incredible journey, obviously there's still going to be obstacles along the way, maybe we don't know them yet, but what exciting things do you have coming up like after all of this adversity? Because I say this all the time to people that although what you're going through right now is extremely hard and painful, I feel like this is prepping us for something bigger, which is becoming which we're becoming into. So I know that you have a lot of exciting things. Would you be happy to share with anything that is coming up?
Yes, so one big dream of mine, I feel like it's like any wee girl growing up in Ireland like would have watched this. I watched it in Donegal with my nanny and my mum, The Rose of Tralee. I've always watched it, and honestly the stories you hear from those women, and I actually know a girl that went for, she was a Melbourne Rose last year, and hearing her story, and I was just like, it's always been something I want to do. It was something my nanny, God rest her, she's 11 years gone this year. It's something we always talked about when I got older. Oh, Cara, you'll do it. And all this here. And I was like, yeah, no problem. But I actually sent that application form in back in January, and I am up for selection now on the 13th of April. So it's so exciting. It's something I would have never put myself out there for because it's very out there. It's a lot of people have this misconception through Rose Tralee a beauty pageant. It is not a beauty pageant. So I'm opening myself up there. And before I would have been petrified of what other people thought of me. Now I only care what I think. Obviously, I care a wee bit what my family think, but as long as I'm happy in what I'm doing, like I feel fulfilled. And this is something that's really, really exciting and very different for me. I'm a musician, so I'm used to singing on stages and acting and playing a character. I've never been on a stage and openly went, "Hi, I'm Cara." I've always been. So the fact that I'm even going for this, like we don't know what holds. It's on the 13th of April. I mean, I don't know when you are listening to this, I could be the true rose, but I could also have just been up for selection. I don't care. As long as I put myself forward, like that's a win for me.
Absolutely, and that's it. It's putting yourself forward because you will never know the answer to these things if you do not put yourself into the environments, into these people. And something I say all the time: fuck around and find out. How are you going to truly know if something is for you if you're not in the experience, or you don't give
100%.
yourself a chance?
I feel like I've cut so many opportunities off for myself because I was like in my head, like, oh, that's not for me. That's not for me. Whereas this is one I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna take the bull by the horns and just do it. Like if it's for me, it'll not pass me. If it's meant to be, it'll happen. If not, it won't. And I'm completely okay with that. I'm not going into this with any mindset like I need to get this. If I don't get this, I'm devastated. Like it's complete loss. Like it's the end of the world. I'm just going in there. If it gives me an opportunity, like I said before, to tell my story to at least one person, I am happy. And I think this is the most like relaxed I've been about something I'm entering. I don't like entering competitions. I think because before this, I've always had an absolute petrifying fear of losing. And I
Mm.
don't think it was a matter of competition. I feel like it was losing a bit of confidence within myself, a bit of that fake confidence that I was showing. Like if I show people like I'm so confident, like I'm gonna enter this competition and I lost, then I would be like, oh my god, they don't think I'm as confident. Whereas now, like this is something I'm just entering for the sheer crack and for the banter and the meeting other girls and connecting with other people that might be going through the same thing as me. And I think that's the main thing for this. It's not a pressure thing; it's a fun thing.
Absolutely. And I think that's such an amazing way to go about things, because when things feel forced, to me they're not in alignment. I think feel things should be fun and flow. Don't get me wrong, there's an element of hard work, but it should just come with ease. And like, again, what you said is like, your worth isn't tied to the outcome of this. You know that you're absolutely amazing regardless.
Exactly, and I think as well, like getting a speaking Stormont on my endo journey, like that was a massive thing for me, and
Yeah.
knowing like getting to do that and knowing my worth is obviously how I feel within myself, and getting to tell other people and getting to be in a room with so many other women that are like-minded. Um, like-minded women is something I have never really surrounded myself with.
Hmm.
I've always feel like I was a magnet for toxic relationships and toxic friendships for years, whereas now, like especially within the Align program as well, like I love our big group chat. Like we're constantly talking in it, like massive wins, and I just love like this women empowering women thing, and like not tearing each other down. Because I come from a small town. Small town mentality is something that I have really struggled to get over my whole life, and just like living away from that now and being out of it and having women that are like, you know what, this is amazing, even if it's something so tiny, like I actually got out of bed today. Like to have somebody then like hype you up is just amazing.
Absolutely. And I think that's the most important thing is that when you actually are surrounded, like your environment means so much. And I come from a small hometown as well. And don't get me wrong, like I really respect and love my hometown, but there is an element that you are fighting against the grain. And I think that that's so difficult when you have big dreams and big passions. And it's like, who the fuck does she think she is? And you're just like, what? And that was always my vision with Align, was that I actually personally really struggled when I was in school with big girl groups and all of that there. And I really struggled. So you know yourself, Car, when you were coming on board, like I'm like, but this is like to see if you fit into the Align community. Like it's so sacred and protected to me that like not everybody like joined, because I'm like, it's so sacred. Like yous are my sisters, and I want to make sure that everybody in there is aligning and everybody has the same sort of values and outlooks. Don't get me wrong, we all have different perspectives, but inevitably it all has to be that we all have the same vision, and that's what's so important. And I'm so like, you're such an active member in it, and I want you to know I'm genuinely so proud. Like it's everything in which you embody and which you overcome, like being in Stormont, doing all of these things. And it's so important to really surround yourself with them type of people, because that's how you grow. You learn off these other people, you get inspiration from these other people, and you see the potential, that they're like, oh, if they can do it, I can do it. And I think that's what's so important and impactful. So is there anything else in which you have coming up, Cara?
Well, I'm releasing some new music now at the minute. So I'm working on my music. I feel like these last couple of months, my music has definitely took a step back, but I needed to sort of align my visions with what was going on. So obviously, I was just releasing for the sake of it, just to be relevant, stick my name out there, put my fingers in the pies. Whereas now, like I think from January on, I've took a massive break. I still gigging, but I took a break from releasing music, from posting an awful lot. I needed to sort of reevaluate my own vision in order to move forward. Like I was a people pleaser, like we've talked about earlier on. Like so now I'm releasing this new song. It's definitely more within my current vibe at the minute, and it's great fun. Like I'm so excited. I'm up in the studio now this week finalizing it. So it'll be out by the time you listen to this. So check it out. But yeah, that's sort of the next most exciting thing as well that's coming up. But April's a very fun month, so I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm so excited. We'll have to put all the links within the description, because this is the first April Fool's Day, guys, when we are recording this. So I feel like it might come out like end of April, start of May, but we'll maybe do it in alignment with like the Rosa Trilly and when your new song comes out, all of this here, so that yeah, we can do it in alignment with that. I need to just look at the dates from all over the place with how far ahead I was with the podcast. But yeah, that is so exciting. Like, you know what I mean? All of these adversities in which you've overcome, and it's really like showing people like the listeners that your story and your journey has not been the easiest. Like the deck of cards in which you've been dealt haven't been the best at all, but you've played the deck into your advantage, and yeah, it's genuinely such a blessing to work with it. Is there anything else?
Not at the minute. I can't think like at the minute. No, the Rosa Tree and my new song are just kind of all what's on my brain at the minute. I
Hmm.
have endometriosis, so I started an Instagram page, Endo Reality Check. So in line with that, I'm hoping to run a couple of information evenings and retreat days and different things for those suffering with endo, and maybe those that aren't, because like I know like my partner struggles to understand how to help me when I'm in a flare up. So like even for those that aren't suffering but have somebody that are suffering, to like be able to help them as well, because like I had a partner message me the other day of one a girl, like a girl I was friends with, and he was like, how what do I do, like do I help her, do I do this, like what, how can I help her? And I was like, nobody ever talks about how to help someone that's living with it. Like they always tell you how to live with it, but it's the effects that has on other people. So I definitely want to the help in those, as well as obviously people that are living with it and dealing with it every day.
That's beautiful, absolutely, because the more that'll help, everybody all in, people be understood, then obviously the dynamics of the relationship. So that's absolutely amazing. I feel like that's where we can wrap up from here. Is there anything else that you feel that I should have asked you, Cara, that I haven't asked you, or anything else that you would like to share on today's episode?
Not, I don't know. I can't think, but maybe I'll just share my mantra again, because I'm loving this mantra at the minute. That you're stronger than you think and more resilient than you know. That
You're
every
stronger
setback
than
is
yeah, you're stronger than you think, and you're more resilient.
than you know.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, I know. When you were talking there earlier on, I love the quote in which you said that your body is not the enemy, and you really started to come home to yourself. So I'm like, time of all these three ideas of like what's going to be the title. But honestly, Cara, I am so proud of you. I'm so proud of your journey, everything in which you've overcome, and yeah, such a bright future. But you're already living in it now. Like you already are your higher self, which is beautiful. And as a coach, to watch all of this, it's and witness it is like genuinely my dream come true. So thank you for trusting me on your journey, and thank you for being you, because that's all that we ever need.
Thank you so much for having me and letting me in having me in the Align program as well. Like I feel like it's definitely completely changed my life.
Oh yes, absolutely. And I will see and hear everybody in the next episode. Not sure when this is the Purity History Bringer, but not sure when this is coming out. And I don't know what the follow-on episode will be. It might be a solo, it might be an interview, who knows, but keep everybody on their toes. And thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you or hear you in the next episode. Thank you.